Tuesday edition of your favorite program on television, Inside Nigeria, your breakfast show. My name is Winifred Ukwebo, and of course, today is Tuesday, February 27, 2024. And as you can see, we have an array of newspapers for your review on this first segment of the show. We have Nigeria's most influential newspaper, The Leadership, The Punch, THISDAY, Daily Sun, and Vanguard all for review on this first segment of the show. And as usual on the program, we like to flag off with Nigeria's most influential leadership. Leadership's leading story says cost of governance. Federal government adopts Oronsaye report, says no fear of job losses. Cost of governance. Federal government adopts Oronsaye report, says no fear of job losses. Committee to effect restructuring of agencies in 12 weeks, that's 3 months. NCDC, NACA, FROCN, BON, others to merge. Of course, we have a picture of the protesters expressing their displeasure over the high cost of living in Lagos yesterday, gracing the cover of Leadership. Beside that, we have NIN, court bars MTN orders from deactivating subscribers' lines. Palestinian Prime Minister Shataye resigns over Gaza genocide. AU, ECOWAS, EU orders set for dialogue forum in Abuja. Fubara appoints Odili's wife pro-chancellor. And above that, we have hardship cracks in Labour as CUC opposes protest today. The story runs on page 8 of Leadership. And of course, on the business desk of Leadership, we have Leadership Conference and Awards holds March 5. Leadership Conference and Awards holds March 5. All is now set for Nigeria's most influential newspaper, Leadership, to hold its 2023 prestigious conference and awards ceremony scheduled for March 5, 2024. The annual Leadership Conference and Awards be to take place at the Congress Hall of the Transcorp Hilton Hotel, Abuja at 10 a.m. And of course, this is also an invite to all those. Is the 15th edition of the annual event organized by Leadership Group Limited to celebrate those considered by the media outfit as having distinguished themselves in the public and private sectors in the previous year. Above the story, above the masthead of Leadership, we have CJN tax Supreme Court Justice on integrity. Military refuse coup claim threatens legal action. These are the headline stories today on Leadership newspaper. Today, Tuesday, 27 February 2024, which takes us to the page 3 of the paper. Our stand today is Nigerians and healthy living. Nigerians and healthy living. From our stand, we move to the back page of the paper for Tuesday column with Ray Murphy. Ray Murphy is writing on "This is no time for protest." Of course, to find out more, read more on this column. Continuation of headline stories, the editorial, and inside stories. Log on to the website of Leadership, www.leadership.ng. From Leadership, we move to Daily Sun. Daily Sun's headline story says, as Tinubu approves Oronsaye report implementation, federal government okays agencies merger scrapping, gives SGF-led committee 12 weeks timeline. As Tinubu approves Oronsaye report implementation, federal government okays agencies merger scrapping, gives SGF-led committee 12 weeks timeline. The same headline story on Leadership. Second leading story on the paper says Nigeria can't work without Southeast, Shettima declares in Enugu. Commissions geometric power plant. Governors zone 6 steady energy supply for economic relief. The story continues on page 8 of Daily Sun, and beside that we have hardship protest rock Lagos, Benin, Osun, Plateau. Hardship protest rock Lagos, Benin, Osun, Plateau. Labour meets federal government nationwide demonstration begins today. Within seal NLC Secretariat, police response. See yourselves as God's representatives on earth. CJN tells new Supreme Court justices. Terrorism trial, court fixes March 19 for ruling on Kanu's bail application. IPOB reiterates rejection of further court trial, insists on unconditional release referendum. Your verbal inconsistencies embarrassing, as Minister Charles Akpabio. We must repair our economy to free people from poverty, Makinde. Federal government battling to alleviate Nigerians' financial burden, Finance Minister. 2 million candidates for UTME as registration ends. That is on page 26 of Daily Sun. We move to the story just beside the masthead of Daily Sun. Constitution review. NANS to consider local government autonomy. Mayor for Abuja orders in 24 months. We emphasize inclusivity, transparency. Abbas. From Daily Sun, we move over to the next paper on our menu, which is The Punch. One story still on Oronsaye report implementation, and it reads, 12 years after Tinubu adopts Oronsaye report, merges agencies. Tinubu orders SGF panel to implement measures in 12 weeks. Minister rules out job losses. NDPHC Diaspora Commission, 2 orders move to ministries. PTAD abolished. And of course, the Punch newspaper has illustration beneath that headline story. We have Oronsaye report submitted in 2012. 541 parastatals, commissions and agencies of federal government. And the key recommendations: 263 agencies to be slashed to 161. 52 to be merged, 14 to be downgraded to departments in ministries. Federal government may save 241 billion naira if report is duly implemented. Servicom becomes BPSR department. 38 agencies to be scrapped. Measures to be concluded in 12 weeks. We have Tinubu orders 29 agencies merged into 15. NACA plus NCDC, NEMA plus NCRMIA, ICROC plus BPE, NIPC plus NEPC, FRCN plus VON, Army Varsity plus NDA, among others. Of course, PTAD will be abolished. Measures to be concluded in 12 weeks. This is the leading story today on The Punch with illustration. SANS lists expectations as Supreme Court justices rise to 21. Adamawa judge orders to experience blackout today, TCN. Zamfara Assembly suspends 8 members for alleged misconduct, which takes us to the stories above the masthead of The Punch. Police deploy anti-riot squad as NLC hosts protest today. IG warns against violence, orders full deployment for protesters' protection. The story runs on page 29 of The Punch. And of course, the last story on the masthead today says Ogun, Kogi, Taraba governors felicitate Punch at 50. For more, log on to the website of The Punch newspaper, www.punchng.com. From The Punch, we move to THISDAY. THISDAY also has similar headline story, and it says, to cut cost of governance, FEC OK's immediate implementation of Oronsaye report. To cut cost of governance, FEC OK's immediate implementation of Oronsaye report. Tinubu constitutes Akume-led committee with 12-week ultimatum to ensure actualization of approvals. Agencies, departments merged, subsumed, scrapped include NACA, NEMA, NASENI, NEPC, Nomadic Education Commission, Servicom, NDPHC, ICROC, Voice of Nigeria, VAN. Government says exercise will not translate to job losses. To pay youth unemployment benefits, sets up consumer credit program. The story is on page 14 of THISDAY. And above that, we have the 12 highlights of the Stephen Oronsaye report. Some of the highlights include scrapping and merging of 220 out of the existing 541 government agencies at the time the report was prepared. Management audit of 89 agencies capturing biometric features of staff, as well as this discontinuation of government funding for professional bodies, councils. Merging of Infrastructural Concession and Regulatory Commission, ICROC, with Bureau of Public Enterprise, BPE, to be called Public Enterprises and Infrastructural Concession Commission, PEICC. Fusing of the National Emergency Management Agency, NEMA, and National Commission for Refugees, NCF, to be called the National Emergency and Refugee Management Commission, NEROMC. These are some of the highlights of the Stephen Oronsaye report. And the story continues on page 14 of THISDAY. And above that, we have Rivers Crisis. Appeal Court orders Amewule 24 lawmakers to appear in court. The story is on page 17 of THISDAY. Above the masthead, federal government's last-ditch effort to stop labor phase as Ajero insists nationwide rally kicks off today. Police on red alert as IGP orders deployment. Threatens proportional force with troublemakers. Civil society leaders back action by NLC. Again, armed forces declare loyalty to constitution. President say no coup plot. The story is on page 14 of This Day newspaper. For more, log on to the website of This Day, www.thisdaylive.com. From This Day, we move to the last story on our menu today, that is Vanguard. Vanguard's leading story is on the protest taking place today. Hardship ahead NLC rally, protest rock Edo, Lagos, Osun. Face economy or resign, Edo CSO's Ted Tinubu, who defend protesters nationwide. Police headquarters places men on red alert nationwide. Warns impostors against hijack. CSOs ask members Nigerians to join NLC protest. I'll take that once again. Hardship ahead NLC rally, protest rock Edo, Lagos, Osun. Face economy or resign, Edo CSO's Ted Tinubu, who defend protesters nationwide. Police headquarters places men on red alert nationwide. Warns impostors against hijack. CSOs ask members Nigerians to join NLC protest. That's the leading story on the Vanguard today. Beneath that, we have Edo Guba. Idahosa's men petition Ganduje want Uzodiman's report upheld. TUC advises federal government to allow importation of food items. Which takes us to the stories above the masthead of Vanguard. Political risk, regulatory concerns threaten infrastructure funds. Tinubu reduces 263 MDAs to 161 as FEC adopts Oronsaye's report. Nigeria will work if Southeast works optimally, Shetima. Light Up Nigeria project will spur Southeast industrialization, says Mba. Of course, that puts an end to the review of Vanguard newspaper this Tuesday morning. For more, you log on to the website of Vanguard, www.vanguardngr.com. That also brings us to the end of the first segment of the show. Don't forget, second segment is coming. We'll be discussing extensively on this Oronsaye implementation report. Don't go away, stay tuned. This is Inside Nigeria, your breakfast show on Leadership Television. My name is Winifred Ugbebo once again. Of course, this is the second segment of the show with my guest in the studio. This is a public affairs analyst, Hashim Suleiman. Hashim,
good morning.
Good to have you. I also have a guest joining in virtually. He is Abdurrahman Abdurrahim. Good morning. Good morning, Abdurrahman. It's good to have you. Yes, the story that I watched on the media reports today is on the adoption of Oronsaye report after 12 years. The current president, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, is adopting Oronsaye report, merges agencies. This was the fallout of the FEC meeting that took place yesterday. And of course, this is what we are going to be talking on majorly in this second segment of the show. First, let's have the key recommendations for implementation. National Salaries, Income and Wages Commission to be subsumed under Revenue Mobilization and Fiscal Commission. The National Assembly will need to amend the Constitution as ROMAFC was established by the Constitution. Fallout of the FEC meeting yesterday as signed by Bayo Onanuga, the Special Advisor Information and Strategy to President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Secondly, he says Infrastructure Concession and Regulatory Commission to be merged with Bureau of Public Enterprise and to be rechristened as Public Enterprises and Infrastructural Concession Commission. National Human Rights Commission to swallow Public Complaint Commission. Pension Transition Arrangement Directorate (PTAP) to be scrapped and functions to be taken over by Federal Ministry of Finance. NEMA and National Commission for Refugees to be fused to become National Emergency and Refugee Management Commission. Border Communities Development Agency to become a department under National Boundary Commission. NACA and NCDC are to be merged. Servicom to become a department under the Bureau for Public Service Reform (BPSR). Also, NALDA to return to the Ministry of Agriculture and Food Security. Federal Ministry of Science to supervise a new agency that combines NCAM, NASENI, and PRODA. National Commission for Museums and Monuments and National Gallery of Arts to become one entity that will be known as National Commission for Museums, Monuments, and Gallery of Arts. National Theatre to be merged with National Troupe. 13 and also Directorate of Technical Cooperation in Africa and Directorate of Technical Aid Corps to be merged under the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Nigerians in Diaspora Commission to become an agency under the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Federal Radio Corporation and Voice of Nigeria to be one entity to be known as Federal Broadcasting Corporation of Nigeria. National Biotechnological Development Agency (NABDA) and National Center for Genetic Resources and Biotechnology to be merged into an agency to be known as National Biotechnology Research and Development Agency (NBRDA). National Institute for Leather Science Technology and National Institute for Chemical Technology to become one agency. Nigerian Natural Medicine Development Agency and National Institute of Pharmaceutical Research and Development to become one agency. The National Metallurgical Development Center and National Metallurgical Training Institute will be merged. National Institute for Trypanosomiasis to be subsumed under Institute of Veterinary Research in Jos. The list is not exhaustive as reported by Bayo and Onanuga, Special Advisor Information and Strategy to President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Hashim, you heard it all.
Yeah.
Yesterday, the news broke that the federal government, current federal government, is about this adopting Oronsaye report 12 years after. And since the report was submitted under Jonathan, who incidentally set up the committee, nothing was done about it. There was no adoption of it. And many people were saying that obviously former President Goodluck Ebele Jonathan didn't want to adopt it because of elections that was coming up at that time.
Yeah.
We also had 2 years of President Muhammadu Buhari. He also didn't do the right thing, and now we are seeing it being done under President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. What does it mean? Though the president has assured that there will be no job loss, the hard truth is that.
Yeah, but of course, I'm not sure there is going to be any job loss. I'm not even sure that Oronsaye really envisaged that anybody was going to lose their job in terms of the regular civil servants. But the fact is, when you look at so for example, when you have 2 agencies doing the same thing, this one
but of course, Hashim, there's no way there will not be job loss, because if the agencies, especially that are going to be made, there's no way you can have 2 digits of an agency.
No. So that's what I'm saying. Those are the job loss you're going to find. But of course, those appointees were never statutory in nature. They were always going to leave someday. Appointees are always going to leave someday. It's just a matter of 4 years, or even the president could choose to sack you anytime he feels you're not meeting up with his expectations. So for me, and that's the area that the Oronsaye report envisaged, so that all of those monies you have to budget, servicing the offices of CEO in itself, then you also have to come down the running costs of the DG having to move with cars and the fueling and so many other things like that. So there are so many costs that will come. Of course, we're not going to wrap up the country and go home. You still need agencies to run especially in a 200 million people country like Nigeria, where you would require a lot of agencies to get through to all of the areas and what have you. And so for me, like, I think the idea is about the fact that keep reducing cost on one side, you have to also come to the part of duplication in responsibility. You have two agencies doing practically the same work.
Yes.
Why? So, and then you have to make budgets for them every year. So if you reduce at least the capital budget of this one, you have reduced something. Plus the monies you need to take care of the chief executive, you have reduced something. So the only thing that will probably transfer to the other side will be the personnel, perhaps mostly the personnel only. And so for me, yes, so there's definitely going to be some savings, and for me, really, there are a whole lot of people who are having concerns about it. But for somebody like me,
however,
my approach is better it starts.
Actually, many Nigerians are also criticizing the timing, because considering the fact that many Nigerians are involved in a hardship. Presently, the living cost of living is high. So why is the federal government led by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, coming up at this critical time? Because even though the federal government has assured that there will not be job loss,
no, but that's basic now. You see, when
jobs.
people are going to criticize something, it has to be based on facts,
That is not
verifiable facts. So the idea is we have to understand it in its full context. If you go and check the civil service rules, even the president does not have the right to sack any civil servant.
Yes, he does.
So your concern that you're saying amidst hardship here is because you're presuming that civil servants will lose. No, they will not lose their jobs. But I'm telling you that when you have two agencies doing the same kind of functions, and each has to make both capital and recurrent expenditure every year, if you get to reduce only the capital expenditure of one and still carry along the recurrent expenditures, which has to do with the salaries and other things that you're talking about, those ones remain. Nobody's going to take them out. Salaries remain. You cannot sack those civil servants by fiat. There are methods. A lot of them you will even have to go to the Civil Service Commission. Remember that the Federal Civil Service Commission is an independent body. It's just like INEC and all other independent bodies who have a right, who have a board, who have a chairman, who have representative of all states. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? To sit and make decisions on a sacking of a staff. Do you know that all of those people have to sit down and look at the reasons why you want to sack a staff? And even that, the law says you still have to give query, I think, for about 3 times first. Unless the office. So I want you to understand that if anybody has a fear of losing their job, I think that should be dropped, because it cannot be discussed, because it doesn't have any place in our laws. But as far as the political appointees are concerned, certainly they would have to go. Unfortunately, they are politicians. They can go and continue their trade in politics. I mean, nobody stopped them. Perhaps they'll bounce back as something else or go and contest for something. But is there some savings that is going to be made? Yes, definitely. Is there going to be streamlining of a sector, having one agency supervising it, as against, people being divided, as against, should I go to NACA because I have HIV, or is it disease control I will go to? And all, you understand what I'm trying to say? At least I'm going straight to disease control to tackle this problem that has to do
AIDS
with
is also under
a disease. So you understand the point I'm saying? So those are the ideas. And
better
late than never is what would apply to this. Yes, perhaps it's not exhaustive. Yes, maybe much more can be done, even in terms of the leaders themselves leading by example, in terms of how they live their lifestyles, and the president and everybody. For me, taking this action now is a precedence that has started, and I'm sure going forward there's going to be a need to restructure a lot of.
All right. Now, the SGF-led committee was given 12 weeks to ensure restructuring of these agencies. How tenable is that? Don't forget that most of the agencies came by act of the National Assembly. So what are you going to do? You have to repeal this act first.
That part is going to be
12 weeks. How tenable
that's going to be a little, but perhaps maybe if the president is talking to the SGF, for example, not to say, go and do this for me, he's speaking to him from the point of view of the executive as an arm of government. So I guess the SGF is now going to go and check out among all of these ones, which ones are not statutory? Which ones are not created by law or anything? Do you understand? And of course, they will immediately move to make them. But those that are, I'm sure all the necessary executive bills will be prepared, because after all, it's the responsibility of the SGF to put all these executive bills together. And that's why, if you look at in the committee, the special advisor to the president on National Assembly matters is also part of the committee. So that
the committee comprises secretary to the government of the federation, head of the civil service, attorney general and justice minister, budget and planning minister, DG, Bureau of Public Service Reform, special advisor to the president of policy coordination, special assistant to the president on National Assembly, the cabinet affairs officer.
So I'm sure by that 12th week, perhaps the executive bill would have also been ready, so that the special assistant on National Assembly will take it to the National Assembly for them to probably run a speedy, because I feel that this reduction in government expenditures and the duplication of is something that the National Assembly has actually interested in. So I see them probably passing the bill in no long time, and the president would, since it's his own idea, would definitely be quick to sign it, and then we're off to it.
All right, thank you so much. Still on the Oronsaye report. However, many Nigerians are also saying that the federal government should not just stop at MDAs alone, measures and scrapping of MDAs alone, but you also look at also scrapping the cost of high living of the executive and even the National Assembly members, while many others are also calling for unicameral legislature.
No, honestly, I don't. You know, the thing is, I have some discussions. You see, we have a major problem. You see, for me, like, right, I watch news. I see what's going on. I don't see any president of any country that works like a pauper. So I don't expect to see President Tinubu strolling on the street alone. Do you understand what I'm trying to say?
No,
like
but,
all those thoughts.
But if it can reduce,
but the point, so the point is something has started. And that's enough for me. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? For the fact that after how many years? 12 years after, that is a will to at least start something. Recall that so many realities have even changed from the time of that report to now. Do you understand what I'm saying? And so there are so many areas that, and if you even look in this current report, look at what Punch is saying here, Army Varsity Bill to move to NDA. That means this Army Varsity is a new entry into the report. Do you understand? Because at the time Oronsaye did his own, Army University had not even come on board. So that means that I think they had to sit down to look at the workability of it. Because look, like I told you, Nigeria is 200 million people. Trust me, sometimes maybe a lot of these agencies, as maybe useless as people are presuming them to be, they are indeed very important for you to be able to reach out. So if you look at, for the fact that things like Army University Bill are coming in, and the rest of them that are pretty new, not even around when Oronsaye, means that the Tinubu government has actually sat down to really tweak the report and look at the quick ones that they will be able to implement. You understand what I'm saying? But you remember that all of these things, all these agencies are only federal government agencies, and that's why you see in the past couple of weeks and months, people have also been shouting up on the state government to say you guys should also try as much as possible to complement, so that while the federal government is doing hers through her various agencies through the budget, you guys are also doing, at least you'll find some midpoint and things will be better. So for me, really, National Assembly, you want to do by camera, how do you want to start it? You have to do a constitutional review. Who will do the constitutional review? The same National Assembly. So will they go and carry the knife and
however, but they're already calling for a unicameral legislature.
No, they're talking of parliamentary. They are talking of parliamentary.
In parliamentary, you're also going to have a unicameral. Yes.
Yeah, perhaps. So we don't know how that is gonna pan out.
Yes.
How realistic is that going to be? People like Obasanjo have already come out to even say that the parliamentary will not be the way to go. I've not even seen it getting the necessary, how will I say, the necessary attention it ought to get and all. So I don't see all of that as anything maybe in the immediate term. Even people who are talking about it and are saying maybe in another 8 years maybe in another 10 years. So you can see it's not something that is in the offing that you should start quickly or immediately. So for me, I want to refrain from all of that. Let's talk about how we can get the economy back on track, and all of these kind of measures. I think they are workable steps. They may not be exhaustive, they may not be as sufficient as people want them, but then they should receive the flowers they deserve for the fact that we have always waited and shouted about how all of these reforms should come up.
All right. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
So at the end of the day, what are we going to be having? We are going to be having a lean government in place, and at the end of the day, the purse of the federal government who is actually paying them will also be reduced. It will no longer be as bogus. Well, is that good? A situation whereby we are talking about unemployment rate in the country. So what are we going to be having at the end of the day? Because the unemployment rate is still going to be higher.
How will the employment rate be higher? It can't be. That's why I told you nobody is losing their jobs apart from political appointees. It seems you have some sympathy for the political appointees. Why?
No,
Political
not
appointment is just a
no.
dash. It's more of a dash. A lot of the political appointees do not even deserve the positions they get, because after all, they only get them based on patronage, not based on competence or anything related to that. So for me, really, I don't want to bother myself about political appointees. Some of them you would even check, they have probably held several positions before coming on to hold the positions that they have now. So I know about the fact that no civil servant can be sacked by fiat. That's the basic. You understand? That's in the law. That's in the rule. So that I think is a non-issue at all.
All right. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Okay, we already have a guest joining us virtual. Abdurrahman, good to have you on the program.
Thank you.
Good morning.
Yeah. Good morning, madam. I'm glad to be here.
Yes, we have our guest joining us virtual. Abdurrahman. Good to have you on
I
the
didn't
program.
get you.
Good morning. We
Good,
are
madam.
talking about this implementation of Oronsaye report 12 years after. That was a fallout of the FEC meeting that took place yesterday, Monday.
Okay, I didn't get to hear a lot of what you have. Are you with me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Hello? Okay, I didn't get to hear a lot of what you and your colleague and the other side, what you have
Yes.
discussed so far. But my opinion on the landmark decision made at the Federal Council session yesterday is part of the best, the courage and the political administration. This strategy is known in nature that it's going to take. It's not going to be easy. It's not going to take the easy road. It's going to do what is best for the, especially in the long run, for the country in the long run. Irrespective of some vested interest, some persons think they think I need. Let me take your mind back briefly. If you studied the months during the electionary campaign, he mentioned that it was written there. Nigerians do actually read from cover
We
to
are
cover.
experiencing
He mentioned it that for the purpose of costing.
Wow, we're experiencing some technical glitches there with our virtual guest. Anyway, back to the topic of discussion, the implementation of Oronsaye report 12 years after. Now, just before we move on, I want to ask you, Ashim, is it a welcome development or not?
You mean Oronsaye report?
Yes.
Oh, it is absolutely is a way to go. It started, like I said. We need more of that. It should be extended to the leaders themselves also doing
Exactly.
the
I said it earlier.
That's basic.
But that's what
basic.
Nigerians are
But I'm
saying, that it
saying,
shouldn't just stop at
yeah.
NDA.
I'm saying that that's not a very simple area to deal with, because all these protocols around the president and the ministers and what have you would also require. But once you start something, I'm saying once this has started, I believe that with the right will, it will also get to that point. It's a different thing if it didn't also start at all. I mean, so that say that better late than never is true. So I think we just have to accept it for what it is. That some action has at least started in the light of trying to reduce cost of governance.
All right, thank you so much. Now we move on to the nationwide protest still kicking off today across the nation. Hardship ahead NLC will rally protest rock Edo, Lagos, Osun. This protest took place yesterday ahead of this of NLC's nationwide protest taking place, kicking off today actually. But we don't know where you were coming to the studio.
The protest is on TV. Yeah.
Experience.
Yeah. You know, I didn't experience, but I saw on TV.
Yes.
That I saw Joe Ajero addressing journalists that the protest has already started, and he enumerated his areas.
However, leadership said that some TUC opposes protest today.
Yeah, TUC is not joining.
Why some unions also pulled out of the strike?
Yeah, TUC is not joining, but NLC is going on with their strike. In fact, I have a friend in Yanagua too who sent me. He was also even in the protest ground, and I saw his on WhatsApp. In Yanagua. So I think the protests are ongoing, really, and it's within the right of citizens to protest, and so I think it's okay. That the only thing we're hoping is that it should be done in orderly manner, and the police and security agencies should provide adequate security, and so that at the end of the day, people can be able to ventilate that which they have in them, you know.
Now,
I think that's it.
Protest, does it ever solve anything?
Oh well, it's part of democracy. You know, sometimes when you feel something as a human being, ventilating it alone gives you some sort of relief. Do you understand? The ability for you to either meet somebody and talk about it, or to be able to even shout about it, or to make noise about it, gives you some sort of relief. So, and that's why democracy gives people liberty to do what they want, to think how they want to think, to actually be able to say what's in their mind and what have you. And I think, yes, definitely, when you look at how all the Oronsaye report and all the measures that have been put, at least dollar now, I think, has crashed from 1.9 to about 1.615, something like that. Now, all of those things, that's to show you that the pressure that people are putting on the government is actually making them to do some actions that are resulting in practical tendencies. So for me, I think the protest is important. People are ventilating their issues, their anger about the fact that they are hungry, even though I feel that after the protest, they should still try as much as possible to go and find skills and find something to do, as against just sitting every day and tweeting anger and tweeting. Once you're free to go and participate in your protest, but once you're done, please go and look for something to do.
All right, thank you. Now, the Wage Committee set up by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu and the NLC president, who is also part of the committee. How far about it? But Nigerians have not heard anything except the memo that was leaked when the President Tinubu approved 500 million naira for the committee.
Yeah, so apart from that, I think they're discussing, but you know, the issue around this wage reviews, especially at this time.
And Nigerians also felt that Ajero was putting his left foot forward by demanding 1 million naira, because he knows that that amount is not realistic.
Oh, well,
for minimum
it may not be realistic to our pulse and economy, but in all honesty, when you look at the exchange rate, you look at the situation that the civil servants go through, you would actually see that, yeah, 1 million naira should probably be the money that should adequately solve their problems in terms of paying their school fees and rent. No, I'm not saying the will, I'm saying the calculation, because I relate with a lot of civil servants, and I do understand how a lot of them, they apply it, how a lot of them have to live way outside of the city center just to get a rent that will be affordable and all. So, yeah, what I'm saying is, if you look at what will be sufficient to at least adequately solve their problems in a month, 1 million doesn't look bad, but how feasible it is not, because where is the money going to come from to be able to make the payment when we're just still trying to get the economy to stabilize, So right now we're at the point of trying to get the economy to stabilize before we even talk about growth. So let us stabilize, let us be all right, let the revenues, let them start coming in. And once we have the money, I think all of these issues should not be a problem. I'm sure they should be able to negotiate at some reasonable amount and get it approved so the civil servants can have some succor. Because at the end of the day, state governments hardly even pay these monies, even when you approve them. And what, so it's only the federal civil servants that get. I'm not sure even the private sector also implement that. Of course, some will do way higher than that as their own standard, not because the government is pegging it at anything, But other than that, nowadays you have a lot of contract staffing, by this private sector. They just employ people and do as they want. And I think those are areas that the government also needs to look into. And the NLC herself needs to look into and with the private sector and to say, look, if you get staffs, then go by our wage laws, pay them well so that they can be able to work well for you rather than putting them on contract staff without any gratuity, no pension, no nothing. Once they finish working and they leave, they leave with empty hands, So yeah, I think it's a matter of conversation and discussion. I'm not sure at this moment if Nigeria can afford such or even any much increment, but then we'll work to see how the outcome of all the policies will be regarding mopping up liquidity in the country.
Thank you so much, Hashim. It's always a pleasure to have you on the program.
Yeah,
Well, viewers, as well, welcome to today's Tuesday edition of your favorite program on television, Inside Nigeria. I've had the pleasure of having in company. Our Tuesday guest is a public affairs analyst, Hashim Suleiman. Thank you so much once again. And viewers, don't forget to join us at 12 for news at noon. Until I come your way again, same time, same station tomorrow. Yes, wishing you a beautiful day. My name is Winifred. See you then.
Thank you for watching. For sponsorship and advert placements, please contact 080 3688 6158.